Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final stop on the road to ISTE. I am so excited to have Kristin and Joe Merrill here with me tonight to talk about all things, apparently including year-round schedules or 4 or 5 day work weeks. This is the fun part of having these conversations is giving people an opportunity who maybe can't attend ISTE, a national conference, something like that, to sort of like be a part of these conversations that many of us have in the hallways between sessions or scarfing down a sandwich really quick at lunch before the next session we have to run to and things like that. So I'm really excited. Joe, Kristen, say hello.
Hello.
Hey, it's great to be with you guys tonight. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is really great. So for the chat, feel free, jump into the chat, post questions. I'll do my best to monitor it. If we should have time at the end if you have other questions specifically. But this conversation is going to sort of go where it goes. That's the nice part of it. No pre-planned questions or canned responses. That's hey, what are we talking about? What are we going to do? So a couple of things before we move forward. For those of you who know, this is brought to you by SchoolAI. It's where I work. Our goal is to make school awesome for students and the people who support them by finding out what they need and making it happen. One of the things I love about this is that it's not just a stale slogan. We legitimately start with this every single all hands meeting, and we all share about the examples we saw of this, like in real life around us, whether it's visiting schools, conversations that we have in the community, and things like that. And so it's nice to know that we're still grounded in this because that's not the same for everyone. Sometimes you just have platitudes and you go about your business, but we are focused on making things awesome for students and the people who support them. If you have not joined our champions community, we have some of those champions in the chat today. Thank you for showing up. If you'd like to join, you can scan the QR code. You can go to, I'll type it in here, schoolai.com/champions to sign up and join the community. You'll get emails, you'll get opportunities for early access, you'll be able to connect with teachers all over the world. We've got Stella joining us here, so it's always good to have Stella here all the way from Argentina. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So please join the community. And for those of you that are in the community and are earning your points toward the awesome swag at the end of this season, which is next week, the code word for this event is creativity. It's the code word. Your books inspire me. I can't. It's one of the things where I'm like, oh, I'll bring the book with me, and then they'll sign it, and I'm packing, and I'm like, I can't pack another thing. I can't pack another thing. So I have it. I love it. I share it whenever I get the chance. Again, your guys' passion and love for what you do oozes out of the book, and it's one of the reasons why I respect you guys so much for what you do when you go out there and visit those schools. I know how lucky they are. So thank you for that. And let's dive in. Let's dive in. The very first question I have, and this is something that's always interested me. So both of you teach very different grade levels, but you share like this unified vision of what learning is, which is not the case for like these different grade levels. Sometimes they are very almost diametrically opposed with how we should be instructing. How how do you guys come to these like understandings about how something works for your grade level, works for your grade level? How does that all sort of work for you? Like, where did that all come from?
Well, first of all, Nick, thank you so much. That was an amazing introduction. And, we've been following you for years as well, inspired about everything that you've ever done and continue to do. So thanks for continuing to share. We really look up to you, and we're so glad to see you in a role with School AI now because we love both you and School AI. So it's amazing to see you guys both together. Speaking of together, so listen, a lot of times it's maybe a quick dinner conversation, right? It's just like, hey, I got this standard coming up. I'm going to be teaching my kids about this. What do you think about this idea? And I would say probably 8.5 out of 10 times I'm wrong. And then she usually tells me the right way to fix it. And she's I would say 11 or 12 times out of 10 correct. And then usually, it works the other way where she'll tell me an idea and then I'll say, that's a great idea. And I don't have a better idea for it. We just kind of like to bounce each ideas off each other. And I think that we've got a clear advantage over a lot of teachers because there's two of us in the same household. And so, in addition to having that creativity where we can bounce off of each other, we also have that understanding of like, hey, listen, you're a teacher and this is a very like difficult profession. And so we have patience with one another and we look to see if we can step up from where the other one might need a little bit of help and so on and so forth. So I think that like at the end of the day, it's just really just bouncing ideas off each other.
Yeah, your answer is way better than mine.
Usually is.
I mean, I was
Just
gonna
kidding.
say like half the time you find out by just like trying something and it working or falling. Like like can my kids do this? Well, they think it's cool. I don't know, let's try it. Like they may think it's absolutely terrible, or they may think it's something they haven't done before. When you teach younger grades, I think there's a little bit of ease in the fact that like you can't really do something that they've not done before. I mean, like the sky's the limit. Maybe you plan something
Mhm.
too hard. I think it's older that you get, there's that thought of like maybe I'm doing something too easy. But what I've found as I've continued to go higher and higher in the grade level is that there's so many more variables. Like the older the kids get, it's not just about like if they're interested in it. It's like, do they know how to do this? Like their level of tech literacy is kind of hit or miss, and their interests are very different. Whereas when younger, when you have little kids, like everything's cool, right? And so I feel like those are kind of little landmines that as the kids get older, you're having to navigate. And there's no way to know when a new group of eighth graders walk in if they've used this tool before or not, or depending on your environment. We've never taught them before. So there's a little bit of playing with that. I'd also say like personally for me, because I do teach older students now, I talk to my kids and sometimes I just throw things by them. We've taught both of our kids. I've taught our younger son twice, probably 3 times by the time he graduates. I taught our other son twice. And so like there's no truer like critic than your kid. So you can do something in school and then come home and be like, oh my gosh, was that so fun? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, okay. What wasn't fun about it? Like, and some of it's just, whatever. But I find now I'll even come to, like just the other day I was mentioning a tool to our that is going to be in 11th grade. And I said, hey, have you ever like used this tool before? Have you ever heard of it? And he's like, no. I was like, oh, cool. That would be a really cool tool to try then, because you don't even have a chance to not like it. So I would say I fail a lot. I talk to the students a lot, and I take their opinions seriously. Like if we do something and it flops, I don't do it again. And I try to find things that are in their wheelhouse,
Well,
right?
how badly flops? Because you could
Well,
have your own first grade.
I think it's being comfortable with failing and modeling that and being okay to model
Yeah.
that not just like in your house, but in front of your own kids and then in front of your own students. Um, I forget sometimes that not everybody knows everyone like I know everyone. Could you remind everyone what you teach and what you in like what grade level and subject? We got that question already. And it's like I forgot to say where you're at and what you're teaching. So could you just let everyone know what you're teaching and what grade levels you're at?
Yeah, Kristen's smiling because there's been a change. So,
Oh no.
We haven't told anyone yet.
well, I still teach first grade, so I'm good.
You taught third grade last year.
I'm going back to my roots first grade.
I'm
Okay.
actually going into high school. So I'm going to teach 10th grade English next year. So I'm just rolling up the ladder. I'm super excited about it.
Uh, absolutely my favorite class I ever taught
Okay. I'm
was
holding
10th
on to
grade.
that.
Oh, no, he meant first grade.
No, he said 10th grade. I definitely heard
10th grade ELA. Like I could like cry talking about the memories I
Oh,
have
good. That gives
from
me such
like
like that's so
these groups.
encouraging.
Like for real, we will connect, we'll talk. Like I
Yes.
will share everything, like some of my absolute best things, like working with School AI, particularly as I've started to create things. I'm like, if I had this thing, I could have done this with these students. Like I have that anxiety where it's just like, oh, this is the tool. But 10th grade in Michigan is American literature,
Okay.
is the focus of what we do. But those kids, that age group, are just, and I love freshmen. I taught freshmen too. Like I loved my freshmen because freshmen are very different. They're
Yeah.
very special. But my 10th graders, I love sophomores because they're like, okay, you're not freshmen. You figured out high school a little bit, but you're not juniors stressing out about college, and you're not seniors who
Yes.
don't give a crap. Like sophomores are where it's at. I've always
That's what
loved
I'm
them.
hoping. But
So
for who asked, before that, I taught 15 years in fourth grade, and then I just did 3 years in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. So I've kind of slowly been going up, and there's not definitely not planned, but I'm really excited about it. Following our older son, part of what made me want to go into middle school was sometimes the joy, not everyone, but sometimes the joy of certain subjects and things were maybe diminished, and he'd come home and talk about. I was so discouraged. I was like, I'm going to go in there and teach these kids, and not
yeah,
that high school isn't like, not that like there's no love of high school, but I do feel like sometimes you can get so wrapped up in the credits and this and that, but like you can still teach good literature and really love and be a good avid reader, and
yep.
so I really enjoyed it in middle school, and so I'm really looking forward to doing that. And I just missed our son, which is good. So I don't have to, I'm not teaching him again, but we've had fun chatting through the year. He just, all the books he just read through, and you know, yeah. So hot off the press, that's where we're going to be next year.
Well, like I said, count me by your side. I'm happy to be a thought partner or share whatever. And again, I think part of the exciting use of AI now, which is like my next question I want to talk to you guys about, first grade versus now grade 10, 9 years separated, still using a space. And for me, that's what's so awesome is that a singular space can be adjusted for first grade versus the ninth graders. But based on your experience in third grade and in the middle school, how has utilizing spaces in school AI in general helped you differentiate, your instruction for your students?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's lots of really great accessibility features built within that. And so, we've had Spanish speaking students and students who speak different languages, and they're very easy and quick to catch on to those different features that have been built into the platform. And I really appreciate how easy it is for them to find those too. And I think that what's the saying is, when it comes to accessibility, you don't solve a problem for one, you solve a problem for all. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that,
Can you tell we're working on a UDL presentation?
yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I think that at the end of the day, like those features, while they are intended to be accessible and help students maybe who like need those things, really they're just helping everybody, right? And so, back to your question, Nick. So if you think back to some of the different spaces and stuff that we've done, it could be anything. I mean, really, like I've done spaces where I've decided, okay, you know what, we're going to be researching Neil Armstrong, let's say, right? But rather than just having one space for all of the research, you really hone in on, okay, let's do one space that focuses just on the background of his early life, right? Then let's use another space to talk about the types of missions and the preparations that he went on. And then maybe another space that might talk then about like what was life like for him after he, went to the moon. And just really making digestible bites and smaller conversations, I guess you could say, has really been impactful for our students, regardless of the age. I think you would agree. Even if, we went to like middle school last year, we found that those quick in and outs is what really resonated with the kids. And because of that, they've been able to take their creativity and their thinking to the next level because of the background knowledge they've been able to build on school AI.
Yeah, and I think too, sometimes you don't know what like scaffold your students are gonna need. Like you know where you need to get them. And so like yes, like okay, I know your reading level or I know this or that. But sometimes you don't necessarily know going into it. So that's what I've appreciated about space is that you can give the same space to like a group of kids with an end goal in mind. And then the way they utilize it and the way that they have those conversations is very different, right? And so
Mhm.
some students may already kind of know, like go in one way and have a conversation. One might need to have their conversation kind of like guided and built. But I just appreciate being able to launch it knowing that it's going to kind of meet them where they're at. I don't have to necessarily pinpoint exactly what I think they need.
Yeah, and to kind of like give you an idea of how that looks like, because I think like for us, we didn't have an LMS last year. We are a really small school,
I had Teams,
and so well, yeah, but
only for middle school.
yeah, and so well, the way that we would do that is we would use a Padlet wall, right? And we would just have a Padlet wall in columns, and each space was hyperlinked on one column, and the kids would then log on to that space. They would generate the knowledge that they needed from that conversation, or I shouldn't say generate. They would gain the knowledge from that conversation, and then they would be putting facts right back onto that same Padlet wall under that same column. So then by the end, it was a collaborative space where a bunch of the students had then collaborated to gain knowledge from those conversations. And then, of course, we took that knowledge and we put it into some place that was, like a book or some type of project that went along with it. And so, it's really about, and you could do that on like Canvas or Schoology or whatever the ones are. But for us, it just, was a really great way to put everything in one spot, especially when you're teaching little kids, to have one click and then just be able to go from there.
I think that's so powerful too. When you talk about it, like really what we're talking about is chunking, right? When we talk about, you mentioned UDL, and I'm a huge UDL accessibility person as well. Like you said, chunking for one is chunking for all, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, everyone, let's take a look at this in little bite sizes, right? And I think that's what's so nice about it, is that we can do that for our kids, and we can do it easily, and we can utilize AI spaces to really allow the kids to almost chunk for themselves, right? To leverage a space and allow the kid to work its way through it and get the support that they need. And I love that you're talking about that with, we don't need to have them do all of the things. That's overwhelming for all first graders. Like it's overwhelming for me. I'm 47 and I'm just like, I need to take out my notebook and build the chunks that I'm going to work on throughout the day. And so I love that approach, because I think you both are a perfect example of how the same strategy is effective across all of these age groups. And I think we forget sometimes, maybe as older teachers, that the strategy, teachers of older students, the strategies that worked in first or second grade worked for a reason. And there's no reason why it can't work for 10th graders, 11th graders, 12th graders. I had juniors in a physics class I was teaching in my last years. They started doing the cleanup song while they were putting up and cleaning up the makerspace on their own. They asked the Alexa in the room to play it, and then they all started cleaning and started putting things away. And I was like, these are 17, 16-year-olds, and there's something to be said about, these little things that got some of the kids that were like just writing away and not really paying attention to hear the song to get up and go, oh, I gotta start. It was like one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. So I love that, because, again, you mentioned your UDL approach to that. And we look at AI, right? So there's scary AI that is, unstructured, no guardrails. Yeah. A kid is just going into whichever ones that he wants or they want to go and search who knows what. And then there are other AIs, what we do at SchoolAI, that allow kids to explore within those guardrails. So a very long-winded intro to this question is, for you, when AI first hit the scene, what was your strategy to integrate this into what you do as day-to-day teachers with your students?
That's a great question. I know how to answer.
We have completely opposite answers.
No.
Oh, let's hear them both. I think
we do a little bit. When it first came out onto the scene, I think we do.
When it first came out, I've always been the kind of person who likes to learn about new and innovative things, and so obviously when it came out, I was interested in it. But I think that
in general, yeah.
Well, yeah, but I think we would agree that our first response was to pump the brakes. And it was to really kind of take a step back and evaluate, like, okay, well, how is this going to be impactful for students? How is this going to make the learning better for our children? Is this just going to be something that does act like the new calculator, or how can we use this in a way to go and take them to the next level?
Yeah, so I think at first, in it, and I teach language arts, so I feel like this conversation also really affects depending on what you teach. Because, like, if I was a
Yep.
science teacher, or even I used it so much more in history when I taught history last year or 2 years ago, reading and writing, and you get into authenticity, and so you kind of pump the brakes, and I think initially being creatives and wanting kids to be creative, we did kind of just sit back and see what everyone was doing and what was coming out and what was the purpose of all of these new things that were coming out. Obviously there's a lot of like efficiency, there's a lot of automaticity, there's a lot being marketed in that end, which doesn't really fit students, to be quite honest. Like that
Yeah.
seems more the teacher end. And so now we're excited. We still have that caution. Obviously, the scary AI we don't even really think of in terms of our classroom. But now we kind of look at it like, what's the purpose of the tool? Like, is it coming in and is it taking something away from our learning process? Like, are the students not going to are they not doing something? Are they missing out on a revision of a paper or a skill that really is valuable? Or is it adding to their learning? Right? Because we don't necessarily want to take away all of those challenges. We want our students to be able to have that persistence. But where does the AI, like, and that's why we love SchoolAI, because SchoolAI is not taking anything away from their learning process. It's not making any job easier. It's not removing any of those barriers other than like learning barriers. It's still requiring the kids to work and research and process and critically think. So to us, it's a good AI tool, right? Because it's adding to the learning instead of taking away. And so I think that's kind of where we look at tools now, because if you put us on a scale, we will not be exactly in the same place as to necessarily what should be used and what doesn't. I'm just such a firm believer. Like, I mean, my kids handwrote papers last year. Like, there just were certain things that I'm not willing to give up yet, because I do believe that there's learning in that process. But I do think that some AI really can add to what they're doing.
Well, I think that's just such a great point, because I try to think of what would I have been like as an English teacher with AI, and immediately I go, man, I think I would have been that old guy being like, oh, AI, kids are never going to write at first, but then I would have been like, this, I think about equity a lot, right? It's a thing that I think about Ken Shelton. If you haven't read Ken Shelton and Dee Lanier's book on equity, it's amazing. And Ken and I have lots of conversations. So I try to look through an equity lens first, and I think about AI. And I grew up in a house where, due to various circumstances, no one could help me with my reading or writing, like at the high school level and beyond. There was no one there. My brother was already in college by the time I got into high school, so like I didn't even have like, oh, my older brother did this. Like he was gone. And I was an undiagnosed dyslexic. So I think about how many kids are out there are in homes that don't have a parent or two that graduated college and have a college level education or whatever, a master's degree, that can look over their essay form and say, oh, you did this, like fix this. Like, how is that any different than a kid using AI to help identify their mistakes? Like, I think about that because there is an inherent disadvantage to a kid if they're going to be like a first generation college student because their parents didn't. They don't have the background support, maybe the financial means for tutors and SAT and ACT prep, like all of those things, right? Buy that big expensive SAT book and go to your tutor. Like, if AI can bring some amount of equity to those students because of a school purchase like SchoolAI, and every single student has access to it, no matter where you are in the societal structure. Now, every single kid has someone that can get support for their paper. every single kid can get support studying in math or science or whatever. So that's always been now this is maybe the veteran teacher of me thinking, how does this affect the most at-risk student, right? And I think for an approach for all technology, for all tools, because right now we're seeing the pendulum swing back to, let's just get back to pencil and paper and remove all the screens. And I'm like, who's that going to hurt the most, right? Which kids need this assistive technology? And so I love that you guys have talked about the UDL approach because it helps everyone. And I think if we remember that, we can really do good things in education. I know we're short on time. I want like one last question because there's never enough time when we have these hallway conversations. We have to jump to our next session. We'll just say, looking ahead, where do you see the intersection, excuse me, of AI in classroom instruction over the next couple of years? Like, where does this keep going? Is it going to stop and just become like, oh, I Googled it. You're going to say, oh, I AI'd it, and it did a thing. Like, where do you think it will go in the next couple of years?
Well, I think for like in our classrooms, I was thinking as you were saying that about the UDL approach, I think the reason we were quiet at the beginning of AI is because we never really swung anywhere on our pendulum. Like we've always been in the middle, right? Like we've always been in the middle of balancing the traditional with the technology, using a tool for the task that's appropriate, providing equity, not just doing it to do it, and not just keeping it out to keep it out. So when everyone swung all the way over, we were kind of like, we're not swinging. Like, what do we say? And I don't think we're going to swing when everyone says, take it all out. We were there at the very beginning when everyone said, take it all out. I mean, we've seen it go both ways. I think as far as like a society, I really think it's going to be all over the place. I really do. I think there's going to be some people who just bat down and just refuse everything about it. I think there's going to be some who gung-ho all the way within it. And then I think the rest of us are going to kind of fall, like I said, kind of like in our classrooms, where we fall creatively. I think people are going to fall there too. Like, what's my job? Can it help me be more productive? Is it going to save me time? Is it going to take away from my creativity? Like our brother, like your brother-in-law, my brother-in-law, he's in advertising and he refuses to use it. He's a creative at heart. He wants to stay a creative at heart. He knows his process. He's not going to jump in and start using it because that's authentically who he is. Right. But if I had a job where I had to crunch numbers or I had to make schedules, oh man, I'm all in. Right. When I found out when AI made my chess schedule for the club and all the kids played, I was like, this is great. Like I saved myself all this time. And so I think in society, I hope that's kind of what it does, right? People can appreciate it for what it is and learn how to use it well and know what it does. Because just like in the classroom, when people don't know what a tool does, they become afraid of it and then they don't want to use it. And I think that's kind of what's happening in society, like, especially with our older generation too. They are so scared of it that they say it can do things that like it can't do. Like, or someone's already done it. Like, it's not the first thing to do. Like, your name's already out there, And so really teaching people, I mean, the scary AI is one thing, but really teaching people what it's capable of, and then kind of going from that route. I think, I don't know, that's my hope.
Yeah, to piggyback off of like my brother-in-law, for example, I think that there's always going to be a place for creativity, right, without AI. And so like every presentation that we do is created by either myself or Kristin, and like every blog post that we do is handcrafted. We have a very firm belief on that because we as teachers don't have time to go and look for a resource only to find that resource is either outdated or it's been generated by AI. Like, we want stuff that's authentic and it's reliable and classroom tested. And so we're very passionate about making sure that's always the case. And it's the same thing with like all of our presentations. Like, we don't want to have AI generated content. We want our presentations to be a good example of us as people. And so we're really particular with that. But I also think that, things will change depending on who's in your classroom, right? As the kids evolve and as the technology evolves, things will get better and things will shift. And this is a message to SchoolAI as much as it is to all the other apps, is like, watch the apps and see what the apps do, right? Think about SchoolAI, and I'm going to toot your guys' horn for a little bit.
Because we say this all the time.
Because we actually do say this. If you've ever seen us speak, you've heard us say this before. School AI started out focused for students, right? Yes, they had all those extra tools in there, but like really it was student focused. And there are other platforms out there that we will not mention, but we also do not speak on. And the reason why is because School AI started student focused.
And then when you start teacher focused,
then you try to kick it back to the other side. That's when you start to break things and you start to get big mistakes, right? And so, like you said, Nicholas, the guardrails of it all. And so I think that looking ahead, we really need as educators to take a hard look at these platforms and say, where were they back then? Where are they now? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Back to what you said, how is this impacting the student's education? And how is this going to be impactful for students now in my classroom today? And so I think a lot of times these tools that we see out right now, 2, maybe 3 years down the line, we're going to say, you know what, that may not have been the best option.
Yeah, and teach the kids the guardrails, right? Like we are really big as parents to teach our kids things like, like we'll watch a commercial and say, like, do you think that was a real place? Like, do you think it really looked like that? Or sometimes they'll look at something and it's like, I think that's AI. Or like teaching them, because when you and part of that comes from when you can go into a space and chat with a person or and you can see what AI can do, then you are so much more aware of out in the real world when you can spot it easier because you know what it's able to do, right?
Can I just tell you, we are in a graphic design crisis right now with all this AI rated stuff. It is terrible.
Although it could bring equity to people who cannot design. But and so I think that's really important because when you use it in your classroom, then the kids, you're empowering them. You're empowering them because it's helping their learning, but they're also able to see kind of what they're up against, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes so much sense because, and this is something I've said, especially talking with a lot of teacher librarians and media specialists, AI literacy is media literacy, right? Like that's the world in which we live in now because it's around us. Like you said, like you could go and see politicians in the emails or the photos they post that are AI generated that are clearly AI generated. And you look at it and you go, that's not real, but how many people just look and still assume, oh, it's on the internet, it must be real. So-and-so posted it, it must be real, right? Like that literacy element that you're talking about is so key because, I mean, we look at a generation of people that entered into social media and lived in a world where they believed if something is out there for the public, it must be true. People would never post anything that wouldn't be true, right? They did not get any type of media literacy growing up because it wasn't needed. There was an element of, well, if it's in a newspaper, it's been vetted by 17 people and a newspaper would never print something that's not, right? So there was a generation of people that didn't get media literacy. And then we have a group of kids that are now young and out of college that have some, but now it's AI. Now we have to do AI literacy because if we do media literacy right, hopefully it doesn't matter what the tool is. You're teaching about being objective, investigative, right? To be like, hey, does that sound too good to be true? Let me tell you something. It probably is. And doing that in an English class, right? When we would do expository writing and learning about making arguments and these type of elements to identify things to support your research, like to know, hey, not every image is created equal. And I think the world of AI, like you talked about, we have to teach kids, one, that there are guardrails in place for you now. And when you get out of school, there will be no guardrails. I liken it to bowling with the bumper bowls, right? But like you're gonna learn the ball. Here are some like little bumpers for you to sort of get used to like the feel everything. But eventually, those are gonna go away, and you're either gonna end up in the gutter or you're not. And I think.
I love that. I think you just said that, and in reality, I'm the only one in the family that doesn't use the bumpers. You guys are all big fat cheaters. You like feel good about yourself. I'm willing to take my score as it is.
See, I love it. You're just like, I am who I am. I don't need bumpers to make myself feel good.
I'm just not a good bowler. It's just, I'll own it.
Kristin, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I know how busy you are. You're preparing your ISTE sessions and all the other places you're going to be over the course of the summer before you head back home and dive into two new grade levels for the next year. So first and 10th grade. Like I said, I have zero experience in first, so you're back on your own there, Joe. Sorry, but because I got you 100% for grade 10, you reach out to me at any time. I would just love to talk about it. Like I miss it so much.
I'm gonna find you.
Just talking about it, it would just bring me so much joy because I love ELA. I love what it does. I love the arts. I just do, and I think there's a lot to it. So, as the tech heavy person, which everyone always found that weird that I was the ELA tech guy, but I love it. And high school kids are the best. So, where can people find you online? Where can they find your books? Where can people find you so that they can learn more about you as they wrap up this video?
We are at the Merrills EDU, 2 R's and 2 L's. Because
there's 2 of us.
She hates it when we do that.
Yeah, and we're pretty much on every platform. I mean, we have been through a season, we were just talking about this. We've been through a season like with the pendulum swinging about not sharing as much because we didn't feel like where we were swinging was aligning with what everyone wanted to see. So we are excited to kind of share a little bit more and be a little more confident in the stance of where we sit. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we have a website, and that's probably if you're a teacher looking for tutorials and lesson ideas and templates, and that's a great place to go, themerrillsedu.com, and you can go to the blog, everything's free on there. The book's on Amazon. So yeah, we're a little bit of everything everywhere.
We'll be at
awesome.
ISTE. For those of you guys that are at ISTE, obviously we'll be there. Our schedule's up on those social handles.
Yeah, we're bringing our kids this year.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you are.
They've never been to anything work related, so they're gonna like dabble here and there on little parts. Or like my son who's a junior, he's excited to check out some of the esports and things like that. But yeah, so it's right in our backyard. So we figured we gotta let them get a glimpse of what it's like.
Are you ready for them to be completely unimpressed with what you do? Like to be completely like, meh. My son was like,
when's the food? Like,
yeah,
do I get to eat food? That's pretty much what I think it's going to turn into.
Why is the hotel so far away?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I love it.
I
love it.
Shannon, that's a great question. We've actually gotten that question a couple of times, and honestly,
wouldn't you love to see him post little tips and tricks online? Because that's what I've been telling him. You should just make little videos on here's how I made my back shadow and here's how I changed the whatever. And he thinks that's silly. And I don't think it's silly because I think people...
Who wants to watch that? I don't know.
People like Shannon, people like me who don't know how to design presentations.
Shannon, if you were to call that like a session, what would you call that? I'd be curious to know. Just because that's come up a couple of times and we just don't know what we would call that. So let us know. Reach out to us on social.
We'll make some Instagram reels and he'll start showing you his tips.
Joe, I'm with you. Like where people are convinced me to do TikToks, I'm like, who wants to watch me talk about a thing for like 30 seconds or like 45? But Kristin's right. People who don't know, they want to know.
The people who want to learn will find it, right? Like a good friend of hers. The people who it's meant for will find it.
Shannon, if you're at ISTE, come find me.
Or just find us on Instagram and put a DM in there and let me know.
Oh, designing and creating for humans. That's actually a great title.
That's an awesome title. We're like, okay, get off the paper.
It's really great. Shannon, thank you. Everyone who showed up today, thank you. Joe Kristin, thank you so much. Kristin, you and I will be talking for sure. I'll see both of you at ISTE. I can't wait to connect and do all the fun things that we have going there. Again, thank you so much for taking your time. And for all of you, thank you all so very much. I really appreciate it.
So fun.
Thanks, guys. See ya.